Well, thank you very much, Fabiola. So today, my name is Jason, and we're going to be talking about some general tips on how to improve our English. Many of us are here today, and we're thinking, I want to learn English. I'm happy to be here, and I want to learn English. And it's difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do. I understand my grandfather came from Poland, and when he came here, he had a very difficult time trying to pick up some of the useful language that we need. Now, many of us think, okay, we're going to look very hard and we're going to try to study some English. So maybe I'll go to the library and I'll study for 10 hours. And after 10 hours time, I'll be ready to take on the duties of English. But it's very difficult. And there are many ways that we can study that are a little bit more interesting, a little bit more practical, and a little bit more useful. One of the things we need to do as language learners, we need to identify our needs. Now, many of my students come to me and say, Jason, I want to learn English. Please teach me, teach me. Well, I say to them, how can I teach you? You must identify your needs. When I ask them, why are you learning English? The most common response I get is to get a good job. What does that mean? What skills will you use? Some of us all day long. Hello, 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 speaking, speaking, speaking. Some of us will never speak in our job all day long. Reading, reading, reading. Perhaps writing, writing. So we must identify our skills. The four main skills when learning a language, we have listening, reading, writing, and speaking. These are the four main skills. You must identify your skills. One of the skills we want to focus on is speaking. Now, how do we improve our speaking? Well, that depends. One of the good ways to improve our speaking is making friends from the country that speak English. Many times we come here and it's very easy just to speak our first language with other people. But what we need to do is make friends in the community. There are many ways we can make friends. We can go to community centers, we can find different programs that interest us, and we can practice using our English at a variety of different levels. One thing we need to practice is listening. Now, how can we practice listening? There are many ways we can practice listening. One way is through music. Everyone loves music, and we need to learn to listen to some English music. Now, listening to music and sometimes taking notes. Listen carefully to the words. If you make a mistake, that is not a problem. Listen to the words, try to write down. What did you hear? If you have the name and if you have the artist, you can look this up on the internet. On the internet, they will have all the words. When the words are there, we can then practice speaking and reading. Reading the words, singing in the shower. You might be embarrassed, but that's okay, nobody can hear you. Another way we can practice listening is through television. Now, very often television is difficult to listen to, but that's all right. We do not need to understand everything. We must practice listening. We hear words, and through our ears, we can make out some sounds. So take notes, begin to take notes. Now, television is also very useful when learning how to read. Now, that might sound strange, but not if you have subtitles. Many people have a very good ability to read with subtitles. Subtitles on movies, we can read and we can understand what we are watching. Now, to improve our reading, it's very important to improve our reading. Now, what some people do, they are very impatient. They want to improve their reading, but they don't know. What can I do? So they grab a newspaper and they start to read the newspaper. They are reading the words, they understand nothing. It is very, very difficult. We do not teach a baby how to drive a car. So why, as a low-level English learner, try to read the newspaper? It's a very frustrating experience and it's not very good for learning. You must identify your level. Now, three main levels. We have lower level students, intermediate students, and higher level students. You must identify your level. Once you have done this, go to your local bookstore. Now, whether it's a chapters bookstore where you must buy a book, or you go to the library where they have many different levels, children's books of all ages. Talk to your local librarian or talk to your representative of chapters. They're very helpful and they can get you a book that is suitable for your level. Finally, we want to talk about writing. It is very important to learn how to write. Some jobs demand a certain amount of writing English. Now, how can you practice? Maybe you don't like writing. Many of my students, it is the last thing that they want to do. But writing is important. What I suggest to them, sometimes it's a very creative process and they do not feel creative. What I suggest to them, after they meet me for the first time, go home, get a pen, get a piece of paper, and write down any of the ideas that you had today. For example, today was my first day in class. I met my teacher. He thinks he is funny, but I think he's kind of silly. But I made some very good friends. Keep a diary, keep a journal, record all of your experiences. When you write in these diaries, it will create questions. You will ask yourself, how do I say this? How do I say that? It is through these questions that you will find the specific vocabulary you need to improve your English.